My name is Christy Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called Fate, From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your fate. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Fate. How's everybody doing today? On today's show, I have a wonderful woman. Her name's Alison Grey. She's a medium. She's a spiritual healer, a teacher. She has a book out called The Mindful Medium, and she's here to tell us all about her spiritual journey. Alison, welcome to your fate, my friend. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yes. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. Why don't you talk about how you your spiritual journey, your awakening, how you became to know that you had gifts in your life? Why don't you go ahead and tell us how that began for you?
Thank you. So I think, it's probably like a lot of people. When you're younger, you don't really realize what's going on, particularly if you're not from a family that's, mediums or healers. Some people are born into that, obviously, like my children, but I wasn't. So it took quite a long time to realize what was going on for me. But when I look back at my childhood, the signs were always there. I was a very creative child. I was one of these children who had like a lot of imagination. And I just, I was always searching for things. I always believed in fairies, pixies, elves, all the magical stuff. And I was also very drawn to people, drawn to nature, drawn to animals. So when I look back on that, I feel like, I was always an empath, really. And I felt I was always able to kind of pick up on things about people. So even if I didn't know about them, I kind of felt weird around some people, good around some people. So I always had that kind of understanding of energy without realizing, as I say, what it was. And I think at night time as well, I used to get really spooked. I always felt that there were people in my room, people watching me, that kind of thing. Yeah. So all of these were signs from very, very early on. But it wasn't until my grandfather died when I was 10 years old, and he came to me in a dream and visited me. And I had like recurring dreams for quite a while. And he used to kind of sit through me, and I'd be like, "Oh, Grandpa, what are you doing?" And he was like, we're always going to be together. We're always going to be connected. And I think at that point, I realized that there was more to life than just living, and that there was other things that that we went on to other places. So I was brought up a Christian, but we didn't really talk about what happened. We just talked about you go to heaven, nothing else really. And I think that just really sparked my curiosity. And, having loads of spooky experiences as a child and as a teenager, where I used to hear things, see things, TVs came on, radios came on, footsteps, the lot. But it wasn't until a little bit later that it kind of all started to make sense, when I realized that, there were such things as clairvoyance and mediums. And I was like, oh, what are these then? Yeah. But before that, I used to, I was really drawn to astrology. I was drawn to crystals. I was drawn to the tarot. Didn't know what I was doing with any of it, but I was drawn to it. And I used to explore all the time. So I think that was kind of like my opening up. And it wasn't until a little bit later that when I realized that there were like mediums and things, that it kind of escalated, and then I got more curious. And then I realized that some of their gifts were similar gifts to what I had. Yeah.
What kind of gifts in the clairs, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, what type of gifts are you mostly attuned? What would you consider in those categories? Are you a little bit of everything? Do you mainly rely on clairaudience, or where do you lean in the realm of spiritual gifts?
Oh, well, I think, as a medium, I need to work with all of my gifts. But you're right, most of us have stronger ones. And I'd say I'm more clairvoyant and I'm more clairsentient. They are my strongest ones. So I normally see things, even though they're like mainly through the third eye. I see things and I feel things. And then there's that whole kind of like clairaudience, clair knowing that kind of comes in afterwards. But I'd say generally, I'm always feeling things. I can always feel people. And I think that's what helps me as a healer as well.
Can you tell me a little bit about the process of when someone comes to you and they are having, whether it be a physical, emotional ailment or some sort of help that they are looking for, seeking healing? What process do you go through when you're trying to heal someone from whatever is ailing them?
So in terms of healing, so again, I consider readings as healing as well, because you're tapping into the people as well, and you're having a good understanding about what's going on around those people at a given time. But in a healing session, I think the first thing I always do, because I do different types of healing. I do Reiki, I do Rahani, I do crystal, but over the time, it's kind of like, it's not that it merges, but it's become like my own unique style. So I call it a lot of the time now, I call it spiritual healing. And I just invite my guides in, but I always use crystals. So the first thing I do with them is to ask them just to choose crystals, because that gives me a really big indicator of what's going on emotionally, physically, mentally with them. And then I just check their energy and, either with my hands or my pendulum to see, their chakras, see where their energies are. And then I just channel the healing really. And then I allow my hands and my guides to take me wherever the healing needs to go.
Amazing. Can you talk a little bit about how you were able to expand on your gifts and really learn to lean into them, and how you learn to develop them, and what process is that? Because I do hear that all of us are capable of, we all have the ability, I believe, to have some sort of spidey senses or clairs. We it's not mainstream. It's not something everyone talks about, but we all have feelings. We all have a gut, our gut instinct or whatever, which I believe is a little bit of that clair sense of knowing. But how did you hone in and learn to really trust your gifts and trust that this was a real ability?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because I think, as you say, everybody's very different.
Yeah.
It wasn't until, so I had all these experiences, growing up, even into my 20s, but it wasn't until I had my first son and then my second son that I realized that they were getting stronger and stronger. And I knew I needed to do something about it. I needed to go and see somebody. So I went myself to have a reading, and the lady, the medium, said to me about my gifts. And she said, well, funny enough, I have a circle. That scared me. So I started off on the healing. I started off on the healing first, because I thought that would be really nice and gentle. So I opened up my energy in the healing capacity. So it was a healing circle where we used to go every week, and we used to learn, how to ground ourselves, how to protect our energy, how to open up, the different types of feelings that we were getting, learning about colors and crystals and meditation. So, we learned all of it, and then we put it together, and we worked on each other. And then I thought, okay, so then I started to hear about Reiki, and then I heard about Rahani, and it's through like word of mouth really from other people. And then I kind of went down the whole Reiki road and became a Reiki master. And I just think, for me, spirit have always put things in front of me at the right time. Yeah. And that's where I've just been guided. So, there is an element of searching, but I think ultimately we were guided. And at that time I became more confident in my gifts and what was going on with me, and how the spirit world was and what it was all about. And then I was brave enough to join a circle. So I joined an open circle, and learned all about the clairs and how to communicate with the spirit world.
I love that. I read a little bit in your book. I was reading it before, I interviewed you. And one of the things that you talk about is archangels and spirit guides and how to communicate with them and how to open yourselves up to getting signs. Can you talk a little bit about that, about how people can tap into their own ability to communicate with their own guides and their own archangels and call them in? And what is that process? And how can other people gain this valuable capability?
Oh, lovely. Because we've all got guardian angel. We're all born with a guardian angel that travels with us, from one lifetime to another. And then you've got the archangels who are accessible to everybody. And we just have to call them in. We just have to invoke them. They work on a vibration, a very high vibration, whereby we have to ask for their help. If we're talking about our spirit guides, we have lots of different guides for lots of different reasons. So I might have like a teaching guide, a healing guide, a spiritual guide. For whatever the work that I'm doing for the spirit world, I will have a guide to support me and help me with that. But you don't have to be necessarily going down a spiritual path to have a spirit guide or angels, or to have the archangels working in your life. So I would say to everybody, if you open your eyes up to the signs, they're going to be there. So, repetitive numbers, you get signs with feathers and robins, and there's signs everywhere if we're opened our eyes and we know that they're there. But everybody can tap into this energy. Everybody can. And the best way to do that is just to sit still. I mean, mine is always through like meditation, where I'm just sitting quietly and I just sort of take my ego aside. I just dull all of those thoughts that are spinning in my head, and you kind of shift your subconsciousness really into, so when you kind of go on autopilot, when you're doing things and you don't realize you're doing them, and you're just, because it becomes, you've taken yourself out of it. That's this kind of state that you need to get yourself into. So whether, you are in the garden or you're walking or you're doing something where you're just allowing
almost on autopilot.
Yeah, autopilot. Yeah,
autopiloting. Yep.
And then they can get into us because we've got such busy minds. So, if put it this way, if we're really thinking all the time and we're working hard and we're just like completely going 100 miles per hour, they can't get into us. They can't communicate with us because, we're too busy. So they love to come to us when our minds are still. So dropping off to sleep as we're waking up, those times, the spirit world, whether they're angels, loved ones, or guides, that's when they can come close to us. And they will give us... Oh, sorry.
No. I was just going to say, it's such a challenge because we are living in such a distracted world these days where people don't really have the ability to sit and be still and relax to the point where we can achieve that almost trance-like remote autopilot state of being, because I'm in the process of trying to meditate myself and be able to get into that kind of very slowed down, focusing on my breath, being able to stay present in the moment. It is very difficult. And I guess that's why they call it a practice, because you do need to practice that ability to be able to shut off your brain from talking to you. We all have somebody in our heads talking to us, and it is hard to shut that down and really go inside yourself and be still enough to open yourself up to communications, to energy, to any kind of vibrational stuff. It's a challenge, but we live in a very, very distracted world these days.
We do. But you know what? Some people love meditation and find it, as you say, easy. Other people do struggle with it. And it comes down sometimes to personalities and character. And I would always say, you don't have to meditate for an hour. You don't have to do that. The 15 minutes is brilliant. I run a meditation class each week. And, I start with the newbies and they can't even breathe. They can't even kind of like count their breaths and extend that breath pattern. And then by the end of the 6 weeks, it becomes so easy for them. So it's like training, as you say, the practice.
Yeah.
I would always say that some people love the music and just like to sit and listen to the music. Some people like the guided meditations. They like to go on the journey and they like me or whoever to talk them through it. And some people just like the silence. So, everyone's going to be slightly different in the practice. So it's about finding what works for you, I would say, and not have that expectation to be like somebody else. Your meditation practices is your own and it's personal. And I would always say that, go at your own pace. And just keep going at it. Keep going at it. Sometimes, I always fiddle with crystals and things like that. Sometimes just holding something just to focus, and that clear your thoughts. You're not going to stop your thoughts from coming in.
No.
To allow them to come in, but just don't talk to them. Just allow them to float out again.
Now, almost acknowledge them, recognize them, and release them. Like, let them flow through you, and having the ability to feel that emotion without responding with every little thing, and being less reactive and more conscious of it. Because whatever energy you're putting out there in your vibratory field, you are going to attract back to you. And
Definitely.
I think if more people understood that their outer world is very much dictated by where their vibrational level is. And if you're resonating with lower vibrational frequencies like fear, like hate, like anger, you are going to attract those frequencies back into your reality.
We have that choice, don't we? We have that choice. We can surround ourselves with high vibrational or positive people, or we can put ourselves in that negative energy, and then we're going to lower our energy to fit into that. So, we do consciously have that choice. And I believe that, sometimes we can't help who's around us. We can't help the family, friends and things. So I always say about grounding and practicing and clearing and cleansing our own energy and making that like a spiritual routine for ourselves. Like we would have a shower, look after our energy.
Let's talk a little bit about, in your book, can you talk a little bit about what the archangels do and their names and how they function with humanity and humans? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So, I think there's lots of different levels of angels. And most people are aware of kind of like our guardian angels, and we recognize the archangels, but there's lots of different angels. And I just feel that rather than going into like the hierarchy of angels, it's just understanding that all angels resonate on love, on that vibration of love. And we've got angels that are going to be protecting us, as in our personal angels. We've got angels that are protecting the planet, angels that are protecting the children or the animals. So, there's angels for everything. And, all we need to do is, even if we don't know the names of them all, is just to call upon them and ask them to help us. So, whenever I go traveling, I always call upon Archangel Michael because I know that he's the protector. If I'm working with the healing, I'd call in Archangel Raphael. If I'm working on spiritual practices, I'll call in Archangel Jophiel or Archangel Gabriel. So, there's lots of different angels that we can use that will help us with, wherever we are. But do you know what? I'm kind of person that doesn't like lots of labels. I like to make it all simple. So if you're going through something, you just call the angels to help you, and the right angel will come to you. Absolutely. They'll just be there because you're invoking them, you're asking them. Guides are here to guide us. Guides are here to look after us, to keep us on our spiritual pathway. They're here to make sure that, we're not going down the wrong road, or we're not kind of like veering far off our course, but the angels will carry us. And so we need to ask them. So the guides are always here for us, but we need to call in the archangels or the angels, whether there are guardian ones or just the angels that are around. There's angels for everything. They really are beautiful. And we always know when the angels are there because we have that sense of love and that compassion, and we just feel safe and light, and it just opens up our heart centers.
I love that. How has your spiritual development and all of your experiences, how has that impacted or affected your religious beliefs? Are you in an organized religion? How has your spiritual development affected your religious beliefs? Has it at all? Do you feel like they're aligned?
So I am a Christian. I was christened as a young child, and my family were Christian. So we weren't necessarily practicing Christian. So my grandfather that came to me in my dream was he went to church and was very involved in the church, and we kind of went to church, Christmas, Easter, special occasion. But we were brought up with the principles of the church, and I still believe in those today. But for me, I was always interested in all religions. So I love the understanding of, Buddhism and Hinduism and, the Jewish faith. I kind of like to understand everything. And so I then go and see what I'm resonating with and what makes sense to me. So yes, I do believe in God. I do believe in heaven, but I don't necessarily believe in hell either. And I've had many conversations with people about that. And they're like, well, there's light and dark. And I say, yes, there is. But I feel that, God is all about love. He's all about light. And that's what I resonate with. And I feel like, there are bad things that happen in the world and we learn from them. But I don't necessarily believe in demons and hell. And because for me, again, that's the fear. And I don't resonate with the fear in religions. So I don't know whether people believe that, understand that, but that's where I am. I always look for the light, and I believe that we learn, and that I believe in the karma, and I believe in life after death. I believe in reincarnation, all of those things. But I love going to churches. My friends laugh at me. I love walking around graveyards. I love being inside a church. But anybody that comes into the church and starts to preach to me, I'm out. Because I don't want, I don't want to be, I don't like the organizedness of religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am on the same page as far as the organized religion aspect of it. I have never felt that organized religion was where it was at. It never resonated with me. Didn't really matter what faith, as far as Christian or Jewish or, I feel that we are all here on our own spiritual journeys, our own paths, that we're all here to learn and grow and learn to be more conscious and learn to be more compassionate, more loving. And I feel the organized religion aspect is a little dogmatic, and it is much more about being here and serving others and loving and being compassionate than it is about heaven, hell, fire, brimstone. If you don't worship this God, you're going to go to hell. Or if you don't do A, B, C.
Control.
It's control. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I have conversations, particularly with my sister-in-law, who is very into the church, and it's always about how God will punish people, and I'm like, why would God punish? Why? He's all about love.
Yes.
So this is the bit that I struggle with. So I think I'm very much a spiritualist, and I take and resonate all the good things, I think, and then if it doesn't make sense, the control, the fear, and I let that go. I let that go because, like you, it is all about the love and the compassion, and we're all here. We're all equal, and we're all on a journey, and we're all trying to do the best that we can.
Well, speaking of that, what are we all doing here? I ask almost every single one of my guests guest this question is, what is the nature of our reality? What are we doing here? I feel like there is a reason we're all here, and everybody has their own opinion. And what is yours?
Oh, I believe, that we're all souls, and, and we are here to grow. We're here to evolve. We're here to reach a higher frequency, get back to the divine, if you like. And I believe that, we come down here as Earth, as a learning school. I don't believe Earth is the only learning school. I believe that there's other learning schools in the universe. And I believe that, there's other star systems that we have probably traveled through and had a lot of learning before we've come to Earth. I think Earth is a very hard school to be on. So I think, karmically, we get a lot of our lessons learned down here. And I think that that's what we basically do. And we come down with soul groups. We come down with people that are going to help us and look after us, and we can love and have fun with. And we equally come down here with other souls that are going to teach us. So, they might not be such great friends, or we might not have great experiences with them, or they might hurt us in some way. But I do believe that we've made that contract before we've come down here onto the earth, that we are going to experience these particular things. So, I feel like every time we incarnate, we are learning and growing each time. And so, again, you talked a little bit about being, judging people. And I think sometimes when something's not right for me, or when something's very difficult for me, I always put out that, right, what do I need to be learning here? This is a learning, this is a lesson, I know that, possibly they've come here to teach me this, but what is it they're trying to teach me? What do I need to learn from this in order to get through it? And so I try and look at that, at a higher aspect, higher perspective, really. It's not always easy, and we always fall back into like the human soul, don't we? And we're like, no. But I think, we're all here to learn and to grow. And I think, the thing that we're all trying to create is love. And I think that's highest purpose that we're here for, to create that love and to look after the planet, and the animals and things. Everybody's got a purpose here on Earth, whether that is a small insect, animal, big animal, a human. We all feed together. We're all here together.
I agree. And I also believe that everything is sentient and conscious. Everything is conscious. The plant, the animals, everything is conscious, aware, and we are all here evolving as a energetic being. And I think if more people understood that philosophy, we would have a much different perspective and approach to our environment, the other species on this planet and such, that we just kind of don't consider on our same level, and we think they're here for us to dispose at will. And it's such a disservice to humanity and Mother Nature, quite frankly.
Yeah, definitely.
In your book, you talk a little bit about doing past life regressions. Can you talk a little bit about how past life regressions can help people? How can that open them up to finding out about maybe their soul purpose? Or go ahead.
So I was introduced to past life. I mean, I've had lots of different ideas about who I've been in previous lives. And I've done my own meditations, or I've sat with my own guides and I've asked them to show me things. And then I thought, well, I need to learn a little bit more about this. So I did train to become a past life regressionist. And, at the beginning, I felt like, oh, it's just interesting. What was I? Was I Cleopatra? Was I somebody, famous? But actually, no, we're not. Most people that I've regressed have had normal lives. And for me, the purpose of a past life regression is to find out who we are at soul level and what we have, who we have been. Not because, yes, it's curious and it's interesting, but actually, what gift have we brought along with us? What learning, what teaching have we got? What patterns are we constantly repeating that we need to learn? So sometimes if we're not learning in this life, we come back and we have to do it again. Not in the same way. It will always be slightly different, but there will be common themes, common patterns. And then you get to past life regression, and I take people a little bit further. So as they pass over, and then we have a soul review. And, where you're talking to your higher self, and it's like, what do I need to learn in this life? And a lot of the time, it's like, let go of that, let go, move on, send healing to those past lives, because we don't need to pull them through every single time. But sometimes we do. And so it's learning to let go of past energies, past ideas, past beliefs that no longer serve in us. And then it can free us to live in the life and evolve and to continue in this life. So it's a healing. I find that there is healing, soul healing, really. So when you're doing past life regression, you are tapping into your subconscious. So everything in our body, in our energy, in the cells of our body holds all our information, holds all our knowledge, all our past lives, all our future lives. So when we go into a past life or quantum healing session, we are opening up our subconscious. And I always take people through like 3 different lives. So we have a look at the themes that are coming up. And sometimes people have had a trauma in a particular life, and they realize that that's a phobia in this life because they're still holding on to it. And so that's what I meant by bringing it up to the fore, understanding it, releasing it. And so therefore, we no longer need to fear it, or we no longer need to hold on to it because it's from the past, a past life, not the present. And so I think that's amazing.
I truly think that our belief systems are very important as far as dictate, because our brain is a very funny thing. And if your brain believes it, you are much more likely to achieve something if your brain and your body believe it. Probably what the placebo effect really is all about is the biology of belief. If your brain and your body believe it, miracles can happen. And I think that your belief systems really do dictate a lot about what could happen to you based on how we function in this 3D reality. Your beliefs are everything.
Our brain is very, very powerful.
Yes.
And I think, so working with children and working with other people, I always look at affirmation and how to change our mindsets so that, turning negatives into positives. And I work with karma kids as well. So my background is being a teacher and a special needs teacher. As I came out of that, and was kind of moving towards my spiritual side, I can't let go of my teaching. I love working with children and helping children. And for me, I put together this program of Karma Kids. And one aspect of that is to help them to understand who they are, what their belief system. We pick up belief systems from all over the place.
Yes.
From our parents, from our friends, from the TV, from, social media. And it's trying to understand who we are and what we actually believe in. And a lot of the time we hold on to those negatives. So affirmations is exactly what you were saying. Affirmations is training the brain to view things differently. And I think that really does help a lot of children or a lot of people, a lot of adults, well, changing your mindset.
That's right.
And making it more positive. Because the brain will believe anything we tell it.
That's right. It does not know the difference.
Leave it. If we say, I'm rubbish at maths, we all tell ourselves things like that, don't we?
Right. We do.
And we believe.
That's right.
Down to positives, and we believe the positives.
It's true. And it's good that you're able to shape children's lives, because at that age, they are so impressionable. It's so much easier to tap in and give children that self-esteem, self-worth, self-love that is so important to navigate this chaotic life that we lead, where everybody is filled with self-doubt, with fear, with self-hatred. And when you get to be an adult, fully formed, programmed, because we're all kind of programmed from very young to believe certain things. And once you get past a certain age, changing somebody's belief system is very difficult. And, but it is, I do believe affirmation, intention, and such really can transform your life if you make it a daily practice. Like I have started getting up and I set an intention for the day. You know, it's a practice, and it's not, it takes time to shift one's beliefs into another zone.
It does.
You know?
Yeah, no, I think waking up and putting out that thought and, you know, tapping into that positivity, I think it's really, really powerful. And I think, you know, alongside that, you know, great gratitude and expressing your blessings, counting blessings.
Yes.
As we open up to that positivity, we're attracting more. We attract out, as we said earlier, you know, we attract what we put out.
We 100% do. And I keep saying it on this show. I firmly believe we're much more powerful beings than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah. There's a study with Dr. Emoto. Have you heard that? Where he talks to water, because water carries vibration.
Yes.
And as you freeze that water, if you talk nicely to the water, you see like beautiful kind of like crystallized shapes. If you talk negatively to the water and then you're freezing it, it's all black in it. And so you know, it carries, this is exactly what you're saying, you know, it carries a vibration. You know, that's what people talk to plants. And, you know, people think it's really strange to be talking to plants or talking to the trees, but it's the positivity, it's the energy.
It is.
You know, and you've got two plants and you talk positively to one and negatively to the other, you know which one's going to flourish, you know which one's going to grow.
That's right.
You know, and also to be mindful to talk not just to ourselves and how we talk to ourselves, but how we talk to other people as well.
100%. We are all here to fulfill our own soul purpose. And I think if that was the mindset that more people took in life, we would be much less judgmental and much more open and loving towards one another.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
One can always hope. You know, it's awfully dystopian out there.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your book and the mindful medium and what people can expect from your book. Why don't you go ahead and let's talk about that. What is your book?
Thank you. So I wanted to create something that I felt I needed as I was opening up and I was developing. So as I said earlier, it took me a while to open up and to grow and to understand, because I came from a family that weren't mediums, that weren't into any of this. You know, they were more kind of like religious, if anything. They weren't religious, but they were more that way inclined. And they didn't see things in the way that I saw things. They do now. They, you know, we've opened up and we all talk about it now. But at that time, and also being the age that I am, we didn't have the internet. So, you know, I only had in front of me that I could read. And I wanted to, and also as I opened up, I had to go to different teachers. So I had like the healing circle, I had the psychic and mediumship circle. And then, as I said, you know, I wanted to find out about Reiki. I had to find a Reiki master. And I had all, you know, and the angels, had to find somebody to teach me about angels. So I had many teachers, which was amazing. But I just felt like I had to go in all different places. So my idea in the book was, the first part of the book is all about my story. I want people to think, you know, you're not weird, you're not going mad, and that, you know, other people have this journey. This is my journey. You may have something similar.
Yeah.
And so that was the first part. The middle part is a bit, you know, like the learning part, you know, all the things that I've learned along my way, put into the book, just to kind of like, you know, just touch on it, you know, just to kind of help you to understand how it all may come together. And then the last part of the book is my mindful bit. So like working with meditation, working on the positive affirmations that we've been talking about, and understanding energy and how to open up and how to protect ourselves and how to look after ourselves energetically. So I kind of felt like it had to be like 3 parts of the book. I mean, maybe they should have been 3 different books, but I just kind of wanted to pull it together into one as a guide, to just as a dip in and dip out, because it's not exhaustive. You can go into much more detail, but it's just a little snippet and an overview of all the things that I have learned along my way.
What I really like about it is that it will give you a step-by-step of how to tap into your angels, how to sit down and focus on a meditation. Like it gives you bullet points, like sit down and breathe. It tells you exactly, I wouldn't call it a formula, but it gives you a step-by-step guide of
Framework.
Yes, a framework for how one can tap into their own gifts and maybe start developing their own sense of being able to pick up on the clair audio, clairs. But I love that it really kind of gives you bullet points to how to start from not knowing much about spirituality to here's an overview of a great place to start developing your own relationship with spirit guides, your own meditation practice. And, I thought it was really, really great if you're just beginning your spiritual journey. And I believe that that we are in a time in the world where many people are starting to awaken. And although it is hard to embrace these ideas because it's been kind of programmed out of us, we're in an age where science is everything. And I was in that same category myself. Had I not gone through an immense amount of trauma, I probably still would have those beliefs. It has been super awakening for me. And I feel that there's a lot of people that are enduring not only health trauma, emotional trauma, and physical trauma out there that is leading them to start seeking or looking for more. And I think it's leading a lot of people to opening up to energy, vibration, consciousness, meditation, manifestation, and that we are much more capable beings and much more powerful beings than we give ourselves credit for.
And I think that's absolutely perfect. I totally resonate with everything that you've said there, because for me, we often go outside of ourselves to heal. Actually, we need to be, we can heal ourselves. You just have to go into nature. Nature heals itself. We can heal ourselves, or we can use nature to help us to heal. So we don't always have to have prescribed medicines. We could, a lot of the time is we can change what's going on within us through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our emotions, and the healing will come naturally. And I just wanted to pick up something else that you said about the book. So thank you very much for your comments. Oh, thank you. But for me, going back to the religion, I don't like to be told what to believe. I like to explore that. So I feel like my book, and what I tried and what I hope I've conveyed in the book, is these are starting points for you, or that you can investigate. And I don't want to tell you what to believe. These are my beliefs. This is what I feel. And, and I'm kind of questioning you to look at it or be open to it. So I hope that's what I've conveyed as well in my book.
I love that, because I am of the same mindset with this podcast. I bring people on and we talk about everything from mediumship to angels to the paranormal to near-death experiences to psychedelics. And it really is a very broad strokes podcast that can really start to open your mind to viewing things from a different perspective. But I am not here, nor do I think I have the capacity to change anyone's mind. I don't. All I can do is bring people on that are intelligent, that have gifts to share, stories of their own spiritual journeys, and allow people the ability to listen and then think, digest, and reflect upon their own personal belief system. And not everyone is going to awaken in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But what you can do is present information to people in a way that allows them to start thinking for themselves and kind of take them out of the mainstream matrix way of thinking, which I personally don't subscribe to any longer. And I feel that there are more and more people out there that are starting to unplug from mainstream thought because it no longer served them in so many ways. And the more you unplug and the more you understand that there's so much more going on than what they have told us, that we are, you know, whether it be the different realms that are out there, the dimensions, even interdimensional beings, aliens, the fact that we don't talk about aliens in mainstream, we laugh, we poo-poo it, and yet we think that we're the only people with any kind of technology or any kind of consciousness in this expansion that never ends of planets and universes. Like,
that's quite egotistical, isn't it? Of us.
I mean, we do have a terrible, terrible problem with our self-centered and egos, don't we? It's a terrible problem.
Absolutely. But no, I think you're right, and I love the word unplugging.
Yes.
And I think we need to. I think we need to unplug because we do absorb everything that's going around, and unfortunately, we can believe because why not? I mean, I think probably being a teacher and being a mum, for me, I've always wanted questions. I've always asked questions, and I've always been a child that's asked questions. I remember sitting in my first circle, and I'm doing mediumship, and I'm using my spiritual clairs, and I know that I've got them, and I know that I can feel them, but I'm still doubting because I'm still quite scientific. And my teacher said to me, my mentor said to me, Alison, your spirit guides are knocking their heads on a brick wall, you know. You need to let go and to trust. And I'm like, but I need to ask the questions. I won't just accept things. I like to understand them as well. So, you know, I just ask everybody, you know, if you've got an interest, if you have a thought or a feeling, explore it.
Yes.
You know, I drive my guides mad. I'm sure I do, because I'm always asking them questions. You know, tell me, how do I know this? You know, what does this mean? Because I always want to learn. I think that's growing, isn't it?
It really is growing. And I think that we are programmed to need evidence to believe such sensational things that we have always been programmed to not believe, you know, like, oh, that doesn't exist. That's not real. That, you know, so even for me, as much as I completely and totally believe in the energy of the universe and how it can affect everything, I believe we're all connected. I believe that we are a part of a higher consciousness. I'm always looking for the evidence. My brain is programmed to be like, I want proof, because it does seem so fantastical. It does seem so incapable of not being true. It seems like that can't be true, you know?
But do you know what is the most amazing thing, the most magical thing is that whenever I ask for something, I ask for a sign. And we talked about this right at the beginning, and you get the signs. So I ask for a sign, and spirit world will give it to me, or the angels, my loved ones, that they will give it to me. And that is my trust. That is my belief. And so,
it's true. A lot of it has to do with how much you're consciously paying attention to and opening yourself up, I think, to higher self, to spirit guides, to things like that. If you start listening, the universe will speak to you, but you have to listen first. And if you're not listening, if you're not paying attention, you are not going to hear very much in that arena. That's what I think.
And when you listen and you see the sign, you then have to say thank you. Because then they know that they have got through to you. They know that whatever they've sent to you has been understood, and then they're more likely to do it again.
Yes.
So I always, you know, these are our friends. You know, we might not be able to see them, but they are our friends, and they're looking after us. They're helping us. And, you know, whereby you'd say thank you to somebody that does something kind to you, you have to treat the angels and your guides and your loved ones in the spirit world exactly the same way.
I agree. I mean, I'm still in the beginning stages of all the spirituality. It's still new to me, but I have been just devouring information, podcasts, books as I go. And quite frankly, the universe, my life, humanity makes a lot more sense under my new belief system than it ever did under my old belief system. It just makes more sense to me than ever.
Yeah.
Why we're here, what we're doing here, what life is. And, I'm going to continue to grow, to expand, to meditate, to manifest. I am hoping to develop my gifts as I go along with the help of you and your book, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. On that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up with Miss Alison Grey. I would like to thank you so much for being a part of the show. Do you have any kind of website or anything? If people want to reach out to you for any kind of healing, how do people get in contact with you if they're seeking anything in the spiritual realm?
Well, thank you very much. I have got a website, alisongreymedium.com, but you can also find me on Instagram under Alison Grey Medium and Facebook. But yeah, I think if you go to my website, then you've got everything there, and then you can read up about me and see all the things that I offer, and you can email me from there as well. So thank you.
And where can people pick up your book, The Mindful Medium?
Amazon is probably a great. It's the sixth books as well. So is it collective books, 6 books. So you can buy that. I think, mainly those 2 places.
Well, I will be sure to put your website, your Instagram, and the link to your book in the show notes so people can go ahead and pick it up for themselves and start their own spiritual journey today. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being a part of Fate. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this episode of From Atheism to Enlightenment. We will see you next week. Bye, everybody. And that's a wrap on this episode of Fate, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Pick up Alison's book, The Mindful Medium. I will put the link in the show notes. It's a great little introduction to spirituality, to learning how to meditate, what crystals do, how you can tap into your own inner stillness. If you're at all interested in stepping into your own path and learning more about what spirituality is and what it entails, I think it's a great little starter book. So I highly recommend it. Pick it up. She does have a website. It's alisongreymedium.com. I will also put that in the show notes if you have any interest in reaching out to her for any healing, for a reading, for anything like that. She's a wonderful person to tap into. She is nothing but love. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in anything regarding spirituality, if you have any questions, reach out to her. She can help you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. I would love to be able to get as many people on board listening to this show, viewing this show. So if you're enjoying what I have to offer and what I'm talking about, go ahead and hit subscribe, tell a friend, hit like, whatever. I would like to be able to get as many people on board as possible. So help me out, gang, and spread the word. You can reach me on Instagram. I am at Fate Podcast. It's F.A.T.E. podcast on Instagram. Also, I have my Fate Podcast on YouTube. It's at Fate Channel. I will be putting up some more social media sites. I'm going to do a Facebook page. I think I'm going to go ahead and augment my TikTok into the show a little bit more. I feel I need to put more of a social media presence out there, even though I'm internally like, I want to be able to bring this show to as many people as possible, and I absolutely need your help to do it. So very much asking for your support in my endeavor for this show. On that note, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I will see you next week for the next episode of Fate. And welcome to your Fate gang. We'll see you next week. Journey well, everybody. Bye.